back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm Bess Hawthorne, and I'm so excited you're joining me today. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Leslie Taylor. She is married to Chris, and she is a mom of 5, mostly grown children. I think the last one graduated this year from high school, which is very exciting.
Yes.
And she's a grandmother to 9. She is also a health coach and health writer. You can find all of her writings on Substack. The title is Fast Well, Feast Well. And I'll read you a description in a minute. But first, welcome, Leslie.
Well, thank you, Bess, so much for having me on here. I've listened to a bunch of the episodes, so it's really fun to now be one of the people doing the episodes. So thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for listening. And it's fun to have a listener as well as a lady in my community. In fact, it's funny, we're kind of distantly related. Are we distant? I mean, could we say that? My twin sister, her son's wife is the sister of your son's wife.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone's going to be able to follow that. My kids love talking about all of that. They call it like daisy chain. So we're daisy chain relatives.
Daisy chain relatives. Yes, somehow. So that's very fun.
Yeah.
Her Substack, Fast Well, Feast Well, is a newsletter for people ready to learn how to heal chronic diseases, take control of their health, throw out prescriptions, lose weight, break food addiction, regain energy, conquer brain fog and lethargy, and live the vibrant life we were meant to live. So she has a lot of different topics on there, a huge range, and we're just going to talk about a few things today. But first, Leslie, tell us a little bit more about yourself if I missed anything, and then we'll jump into all of your fabulous recipes and tips.
So we've lived in Moscow for about 6 years. Actually, just had our 6th-year anniversary of moving to Moscow and have just enjoyed the community and the church and all the people that we've gotten to know. And yeah, I love my newsletter. I'm also a health coach, and I love doing that because I think that the human body is the most fascinating thing that God gave us, fearfully and wonderfully made. And the more I learn about it, the more excited I get about how it can heal itself. And so I just have a lot of that. And by the way, if you hop onto that fastwell.substack, Bess, you were just telling me that it tried to put up a paywall for you. Mm-hmm. Most of my content's free.
Okay.
So just exit out of that screen that's like, I don't have any control over how those screens pop up trying to make you pay. But most of the content's free. And yeah, hop on there and learn about health and wellness. And I also love doing health coaching, just helping people with diet and with any kind of chronic illnesses they could have. Some of the things that I've done in my own life, I used to have chronic migraines, which I no longer have. I will occasionally get one if I slip up. So I'm like, oh, we're traveling. I can have fast food. Actually, no, I can't have fast food. So they do come back every now and then if I eat a little bit more widely than I should. But I mostly have gotten rid of my chronic migraines. I no longer have type 2 diabetes, and I used to have another chronic pain disorder called interstitial cystitis, which I no longer have. And then most recently, I used to have Hashimoto's disease, and I completely reversed that. So I
and this
don't
is all
have
through
antibodies.
diet.
Mm-hmm, through diet, yeah. And doing also some fasting and something called ketosis, which is just kind of a metabolic state that I use. So yeah, so that's basically what I do. It's so interesting, so fascinating. And I'm just constantly amazed at the healing that people can find. So,
and there's lots of articles on all these different topics on your Substack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I know just very generally about some of the things you mentioned. My father-in-law, he was pre-diabetic, and the doctor told him, you really need to change your diet. You're about to have to start taking whatever the medicines are. And just with diet change, he was able to do it.
And what a great doctor to actually say that, because sometimes they'll tell you that it's permanent and progressive, that if you cut out sugar, you can keep it from progressing. But sometimes people aren't told that they can reverse it with diet. And a lot of times people will, if they even know that's a possibility. It's absolutely reversible.
And there are
diet.
people who won't make any changes and they just don't care to. But it is true that a lot of times if you look at nutrition, exercise, things like that really will help your body, you can reverse some of those things that are negative trends in your life.
For sure. My modus operatum is always that I don't know if I can necessarily reverse something, but we're going to try. And that was what I was thinking about with my Hashimoto's. I was like, hardly anyone's ever done this. We're going to try. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then it did work out. So you don't really have anything to lose.
Right. Just try the tools and see if God uses it to bless your body. And, like you said, in the ability to heal itself. Sometimes it can.
Yep. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, jump into a little bit about, I know a lot of times on this podcast, we talk about favorite menus, that sort of thing. I'm sure that whatever you tell us about, it's going to be amazingly healthy, but also delicious.
So that's always been a struggle where I'm trying to feed my family really healthy things, but sometimes I've gone way too far over into the health. So one of the stories that my kids always tell on me is that I made this cookie dough for them, and they came home from school one day and I was like, "Kids, I made you cookie dough." And they love cookie dough, and they took like one bite of it and they were like gagging and
right.
like, "This is the most
the trash.
disgusting thing they've ever tasted." I had taken chickpeas.
Oh no. No.
I had sweetened it with maple syrup, and then it had Lily's chocolate chips, which have stevia in them. Like, I've gone through different stages, and I went through this stage where I thought that you could substitute artificial sweeteners. I no longer do that. But anyway, it was a phase, and my kids thought that they were going to die, that it was the most terrible thing they've ever tasted.
That reminds me when my mom tried carob chips. That was a big thing back in the day. I don't know if you have ever tried that before. They are not a substitute for chocolate chips.
No.
A completely different food group.
Oh, no.
Not the same taste at all. She tried that because there was some health thing going around. And my other story is the lentil burgers.
Oh.
They look like little hamburgers, but they were not. They were made of lentils. Somehow pressed together. I don't know what the other ingredients were, but
yeah. No, I hope that I have matured from feeding my kids like terrible healthy things to now I'm trying to make healthy foods appealing and tasty. And so that's what this menu is, hopefully, that I came up with today.
Yes.
Was trying to find that balance.
Right. And honestly, when you achieve that balance, it's sustainable.
Yeah.
People will actually eat that way if it's delicious. If they're just forcing, say, greens, gross tasting greens down their throat with no flavor, it's just not realistic that they're going to eat that way for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
But if it's absolutely delicious and you can't wait to try that new salad or whatever it is, then it's something they, would use if it's delicious. So tell us about your menu.
Okay. So the menu I came up with today is this old family favorite called chicken artichoke bake. I've made it for 30 years. My kids absolutely love it. In fact, when the married ones who aren't in town come back into town, they're like, "Mom, can you make chicken artichoke bake?" And I really like it for company. So chicken comfort is just great, but also it can just come across as a little bit plain. And so people already know how to make, chicken noodle soup and chicken and dumplings. And so if you want to give them something chicken comfort, but it's different than what they've already had, that's where this really fits the bill, because the artichokes just are different and they just kind of elevate it, but then you still get that really like wholesome, nourishing kind of a thing. So my mom is originally the one that gave me this recipe years ago, and then I changed it and I kind of wrote my own recipe based on the one she originally gave me. And so the way that I changed it is kind of a template for how you can change other recipes to make them both tastier and more nutritious. So I'll explain that in a minute. So I want to go over that. And then I want to explain to people what I call my magic rice, which is really funny. There's nothing really magical about it, but for some reason, whenever people eat it, they're like, "This is the most amazing rice." And I'll explain why. It just cracks me up that I'm like, quote, known for my rice. Like of all the things.
Most people are not known for rice.
No.
We need this recipe.
Yeah. Well, of all the things I could be known for, like I could be known for making like delicious meat or something like that. Instead, I'm known for making rice. Like, wow. That's really,
okay.
Really the thing that stood out.
I will acquire this recipe. Go to comeoverfordinner.com, and anything she talks about, recipes or whatever, favorite kitchen items will be there.
Yeah. So the rice is going to be there. And then finally, I want to talk about all things salad. So I have what I call my salad repair manual. And it's these 5 steps to really elevate your salad. Now, you don't have to do it every time you make a salad, but it's if you're wanting to make an extra delicious salad. They're my 5 steps. And then I have something else that's called my universal salad recipe. And it's a template for making a bunch of different kinds of salads that are super easy, secondhand. You have all the ingredients on hand and you can just throw it together and you can get creative within the template. So that's why I just love my universal salad recipe.
Yeah.
And then I have some cleaning tips for people and a tip for making guests feel welcome.
Okay.
So that's it.
This sounds amazing. And back to the salad, I guess this is the kind of articles you write for your Substack. And is this something on your Substack?
So it is. So I have both. The salad repair manual is a post on my Substack, and then I also have the universal salad recipe with a bunch of others. So when you say kind of articles, I am all over the place. So I have recipes on there, but I also have just like articles on like why saturated fat is actually good for you, which is completely different than everything that we've been taught. Why salt is actually very good for you, why meat is good for you. People think that I focus on not eating all the time because it's called fast well, but there's also the feast well. And so I also focus on what people should be eating instead of what they shouldn't be eating so that it's very positive and motivating rather than just telling you shouldn't be eating this and that.
Which you can't have.
Exactly. Yeah. And the more you get excited about eating the things that you can have, the less you care about having, chips and Doritos and Oreos or whatever.
Right. The constant daily, especially if it's a daily filler, if daily you're taking those things in and it's just empty calories for sure.
Yeah.
You'd want to try to long-term find something that's much healthier for your body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, jump into some of the food you talked about.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the chicken artichoke bake. So the original recipe that my mom gave me, it called for chicken breasts plus canned chicken broth. And a while back, I started getting into making my own meat broths. So a meat broth is different than a bone broth. With a meat broth, you're cooking it for a shorter amount of time and you're using more of like a tougher cut of meat. You can do this with beef. You can use like a chuck roast, something called oco bucco or oxtail. But then with chicken, I just use a whole chicken. You could also use like chicken thighs or chicken legs, but you're using those tougher cuts of meat, and that's where all the collagen is. And you actually get more collagen out than just doing a bone broth. And I did used to do bone broths a while ago, but then my concern was that we don't know what these animals were exposed to. So if they were exposed to like fluoride or any kind of heavy metals, lead, that would be stored in the bones. So if you're cooking the bones for a really, really long time, like 24 to 36 hours in vinegar, and you're extracting everything, you could extract heavy metals. But if you're just cooking them for 3 to 4 hours, like you do with the meat broth, you don't have to be as wary about that. So this, like I said, this recipe called for chicken breasts plus canned chicken broth. So what I did was I changed it. And so all you do is you take a whole chicken. The basic recipe is chicken, water, salt. I mean, can you get any simpler than that?
Easy.
Yeah. So easy, so simple. Anybody can do this.
Yeah.
You take a whole chicken, and also to make it even easier, you could take it straight from the fridge if it's a fresh chicken, or you could take it straight from the freezer without defrosting it and put it in the water and boil it that way. And that is the basic recipe. So if you're in a hurry or you're sick or people in your house are sick, then that is all you need.
That's your go-to.
That's your go-to. And then I will often freeze it, and I always have it in my freezer so people can also just defrost it when they're sick and drink some. Now, you can add a lot to it to make it more flavorful, but you don't have to. The optional add-ons are a couple of crushed garlic cloves, 1 roughly chopped onion, 1 chopped carrot. You don't even have to peel it because you're not actually going to eat these vegetables. They're just for flavoring the broth. 2 chopped celery stalks, a 2-inch piece of fresh ginger chopped. You can do a tablespoon of peppercorn, 3 bay leaves, and any fresh herbs on hand. So that doesn't have to be, you don't have to use all of those kinds of things. Yeah. Just whatever of that sort of thing.
You have on hand to give it flavor.
Yep.
When you're done simmering, do you take the meat out and debone it, and that's your meat?
Yep. And that's your meat for the casserole. So I'll simmer 3 to 4 hours until it's kind of falling apart. If it was a frozen chicken, then lean more towards the 4 hours. And then you pull it out. Now, this is a kitchen must have, is a cutting board with a real deep ridge all around the edge so that you're not getting juice all over your kitchen.
Yes. Where do you find one with a deep ridge? Because I have one, but it doesn't seem like it's deep enough for what you're talking about. It's not deep enough.
You know what? I don't remember where I got mine. I have a couple of them because sometimes I'm doing like 2 different roasts if it's Thanksgiving or different things. But I think any kitchen store would have it.
Okay. But just look for one that has a good groove.
Oh, yeah, a really good deep groove. So you'll pull the chicken out, you'll set it there, and then you're going to strain the broth. And thankfully, this recipe, you won't use all the broth. So now you have some on hand to freeze, or you could use it later in the week for another recipe.
And how simple. I mean, that is just so simple. Instead of dumping it down the sink, which maybe all the listeners just were aghast when I even said that, but maybe they're so good and have always frozen it. But, for me, if I take the meat out and start deboning, I would just chunk the broth. And you're saying it's just absolutely amazing to save and so nutritious.
It's so nutritious. It's actually delicious. Like your tongue can taste that there's all these different flavors, even without all the vegetables. Just the meat itself has really complex flavors in it that are just absolutely delicious.
And what an amazing thing to have in the freezer for when you're really sick.
Yep.
Or your kids are really sick.
Yeah. It's so funny. So now that I do all this like reading of scientific articles and stuff for my Substack, you find out that these old wives' tales that people have known for hundreds or maybe thousands of years, that, broth heals you, that there's like legitimate bona fide scientific studies behind that there's particles in there that are actually healing for you. So it's just so interesting to read about that and be like, okay, this was real. Like grandmother, great-grandmother knew what she was doing
when she got that spoonful of bone broth and fed it to her grandchildren.
Exactly. Yeah. So I actually use my hands, and you can wear gloves, but I'll just pull the meat off of the chicken, and it's the easiest thing to do as compared with having a raw chicken and having to try to slice the meat off. And it's a lot cheaper to buy a whole chicken, but I think most people don't, because you don't want to spend that time trying to get the raw meat off if it takes so much time. But in this case, it's just kind of falling off. And so I'll pull it off in big chunks. Like I'll try to pull the whole breast off in one big chunk, and then I'll kind of slice it into bite-sized pieces so that it makes kind of a nice bite-sized piece. You could shred it if you're wanting to do something like shredded chicken tacos. But for my particular recipe, I try to keep it more in a bite-sized chunk. So just kind of pay attention to that. But yeah, just to go over some of the health benefits really quick.
Before you jump into that, tell us what chicken you start with. Do you have a favorite brand? I mean, you said a whole chicken. Do you have a favorite one that you look for when you're going to the store?
My favorite way to get chicken is to pay attention if you're local to the church email list, and people will be butchering chickens, and I will buy those. Now, they are a little bit more pricey, but I save them for like if somebody is sick, or I'm bringing a meal to someone who just had a baby and I really want to like elevate.
Make it special.
Make the health benefits like really special. I'll usually buy like 10 at a time from somebody at church and stick them in my outside freezer.
That's a great idea.
There's a bunch of people. Yeah, it seems like every month or two, someone will post, be like, hey, I'm butchering a bunch of chickens, email me. And so then I'll do that.
You're on the email.
I'm on the email.
As fast as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So if there's listeners out there who are like, I live in a concrete jungle, no one around me butchers chickens, what would you recommend from the store if they were going to have to?
So if you're living in a city, you could probably go to some of the stores that we don't have, like Sprouts, Whole Foods, Natural Grocers will have like a free range chicken that you could get. That would be good. And then you can always just don't feel bad about just getting a regular chicken from Walmart if that's all that you can afford and have time for. You're still going to have a lot of the health benefits, even with a regular conventionally raised chicken is still going to have a lot of the health benefits. So just whatever you're able to manage.
Right, for sure. Okay, now jump into the health benefits of making your own broth.
Okay. So some of the health benefits of making our own broth is just that it's giving our body a lot of nutrients that we're missing. So in times past, people had to use the whole animal out of necessity. And so, for instance, Weston Price is this researcher from about 1930 who I really respect. And so his first place that he went when he was trying to find people groups where they had really, really pristine health, and he wanted to figure out what they ate. His first place he went were these isolated villages in Switzerland. And one of the things that the kids ate was every single day they had a broth made out of the scraps of animals. And we just don't do that. We do not do that
Wow,
anymore.
that's so interesting.
Isn't that so interesting? So he was a dentist, and he believed that the teeth were the window to your soul, the health of your teeth, and they're the bones that you can see. And so if your teeth are really decayed, then the rest of your body is under decay. So
Interesting.
he would count up per 100 teeth how many people had cavities, and he found among 100 teeth, so that'd be about 3 people approximately, there would be 1 cavity in every 100 teeth that he
Out
counted.
of these children in Switzerland.
No, and the adults.
Oh, okay.
And the adults.
And the adults.
Yeah, so adults going through their whole life, no fluoride toothpaste, no fluoride dental treatment or anything like that. They didn't have cavities.
So interesting.
Isn't that so interesting? And so he did this with 14 different people groups, isolated people groups in different parts of the world, and just found out what they ate. And they all had no cavities. But he was a really careful scientist. So he would take the same genetic people that had the kids, maybe had moved up and had grown up and moved to a city. And he would track them down and count the cavities in their teeth. And they had, on average, about 1 in 3 of their teeth had cavities in them. So about 30 teeth out of 100. So he said, this isn't some isolated people group who have these incredible genetics. When you take the same genetic people and you put them in the city and they're eating.
Something is different.
Something's different. Yeah. So super fascinating. So anyway, that traditional cultures have always done that. They've always used all the part of the animal and just kind of cooked it. And then what you get is a lot of amino acids that your body needs for repair. So we're not just made out of muscle, but we're made out of bone and skin and ligament and tendon. And so if we only eat muscle meat, we're only giving ourselves the amino acids that we need to build that particular part of our body. But we're missing some molecules that we need to repair, like our ligaments and tendons and things like that. It's especially important for athletes and runners that they're getting all the different parts of the animals. One of the things is you might have seen the word hyaluronic acid, which is on like skin cream. So that's something that's going to be in the chicken carcass. That's going to be then dissolved into the bone broth. When you rub it on your skin, it's only going to the top layer. It's not going to the deeper layers where you get it. But when you eat it, then it's going throughout your whole body.
That makes sense. That's so interesting.
Repairing it. So another thing that's really interesting about eating really nutrient-dense foods is that they make you feel really satisfied. So the reason why anybody could sit down and eat an entire bag of chips and not get full is because there's no nutrients in there. And so your body is kind of saying to you, like, I haven't had what I need yet. So keep eating, keep going, keep going. But when you eat something that's really nutrient dense, your body tells you to stop. And it's like, I've gotten everything I need. I've gotten these amino acids that I need to repair, muscle, skin, and bone. I've gotten the fatty acids that I need for our brain. Our brain is made out of fat, which is why we should not limit the amount of fat that we eat. And so once you receive those, you can kind of sit back and you feel satisfied in a way that's not the same as feeling stuffed, like your Thanksgiving dinner and you're like, oh,
I'm miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Not that at all, but more of just like a general feeling of satisfaction. And it's fun to give that to your guests, like to have them feel like, oh, I just feel so.
I feel pleasantly full. And it would keep a person from overeating possibly, especially if you're not worried, but just working on making sure that you have a healthy weight.
It does.
Then that would benefit you as well, I would think, just immediately. That's just a quick, easy thing to do. Just eat nutritious food that actually satisfies your appetite versus empty calories.
Yeah. So that's one of my major pillars of helping people with weight loss is giving them more nutrient-dense food. And so then they're not feeling hungry all the time because willpower is a limited resource. And if you're hungry all the time, you're going to eventually just run out of willpower and snap.
And it's human nature that if it's miserable, you're not going to continue for very long.
For sure.
It's just hard to absolutely have the most miserable diet and deprivation for weeks and weeks and weeks and just keep going with it. Yeah. Not even that that's a healthy way to go. I'm not even recommending that. But a lot of times that's why diets fail.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, people will run out of willpower after time. But if you eat nutrient-dense food, if you start with really nutrient-dense food, then you'll feel satisfied on fewer calories, much fewer calories. So one example of this might kind of gross people out a little bit, but I actually don't mind eating beef liver. And I do eat beef liver. Like I fry it up in a pan and I eat it. True confession.
You are much higher in iron than I am.
Well, here's the funny thing. I was not high in iron at all. I was actually had really low iron stores. And so I routinely get all this blood work done just because it's part of my practice and experimenting stuff. So I had low ferritin, and that is like your storage iron. Mm-hmm. So, and I was also working with an online practitioner who's very holistic, because this was the same time I was going through my thyroid stuff. And she's like, I want you to take an iron pill. And I have this special one that is more easily digested. And I was like, okay, here's the thing. Nobody should ever want to work with me because I have these opinions. I was like, one of my things is I never take iron pills. I don't believe in them. I don't think they work. I've had multiple clients have their iron go down after taking an iron pill because it's not
absorbing.
It's not absorbed, and it actually gives you gut inflammation. So I said to her, I'm going to do a 4-week experiment. I'm going to eat beef liver twice a day for 4 weeks, and then we'll go back and test my ferritin. And she's like, okay, let's do it. So my ferritin went from 20 to 79 in 1 month. So 20 is extremely low. A good benchmark is like 80 to 110. Uh-huh. So mine went from like being 1/4 what I should have into the normal range in 4 weeks.
1 month.
Yeah, in 1 month.
Wow.
Of eating beef liver. And my practitioner was like, I have never seen.
Like she didn't even know that this was something to recommend.
Like, that's because you are recommending iron pills.
Pills. Yeah. And a lot of times when they recommend pills, it's from a pharmacy or a lab or something. It's not even a capsule that has something from an animal source.
No.
Like an actual animal source. There are some companies that do that, and maybe they're absorbed more readily because it's from animal livers or something. But
yeah.
I mean, your straight beef liver sounds even better.
It is better. And also if someone has anemia, which is they don't have enough hemoglobin and their red blood cells are too few, that can be caused by 5 other things besides iron. So it could be a folate deficiency, copper, B12, protein deficiency, or vitamin E. All of those things are in beef liver. So
where do you source your beef liver?
So I go to the co-op. The co-op is our local health food store that's famously expensive, but nobody wants to buy beef liver.
So they keep it cheap.
It's like $4 for like a big old steak of beef liver, and you only need to eat a tiny bit of it at a time. Oh, so here's what made me think about it. We were talking about nutrient density, and I actually don't mind the taste of it, but your body will not let you eat more than a few bites at a time because you start to eat it and your body's like, okay, I've had enough. Mm-hmm. You can we don't give these bodies enough credit for how incredibly wise they are. But your tongue and your brain can sense the nutrient density and just be like, okay, you had a few bites. Yeah. And that's all you need.
So you cook it a couple of times a day. And does one stay fresh for as long as you need it to, or do you freeze half of it?
What I did was at the beginning of the week, I cooked up a big bunch of it and chopped it up, and then I got it out of the fridge each day and warmed it up. And so I did maybe like 2 tablespoons twice a day, because you can only absorb so much iron at one time. And then I took it also with vitamin C, increases the iron absorption, and calcium interferes.
Yes, and caffeine.
And caffeine, yeah. So I avoided those things, and if my iron hadn't been that low, I wouldn't have just been so vigilant, but I was doing a science experiment.
Right.
You know? I was like, well, I'm going to prove
I have someone to report to.
Exactly. And with all of these science experiments I do myself, I am blown away by the results.
By the results.
Yeah. I was expecting it to go up 10 points. I was like, if I go from 10 to 20, I'm going to be really happy. And then I went to 79. I went into the normal range in 1 month.
That's really cool.
It was crazy. Yeah. So, but yeah, back to that concept. It's just when your tongue tastes something nutrient dense, you feel very satisfied and you don't need to overeat, and you actually can't keep on overeating. Like, have you ever heard of somebody who binge eats like steaks? Like they just sit down and eat 4 steaks and they just can't. No, because when you get to the end of the steak, you're like, this is, when you first tasted it, you're like, this is the best thing I've ever tasted.
Right.
And you get to the end and you're like, I
I'm
can't.
really done with steak. In fact, I may not want these last few bites.
Exactly. And like, you just can't even make yourself eat the last few bites. Whereas like with a chocolate chip cookie, you're like, has that ever happened?
No, as I've reported on here before, hot chocolate chip cookies, I can't make them unless there's a reason that they're going to disappear very quickly. That company's over, or my son can take them somewhere or something, because it's bad.
Yeah, I could eat. Like, I've probably have at a time eaten like 10 in a sitting, but I have noticed that when I do apply these principles, that I can't do that as much anymore as I used to.
Because your body's satisfied with the real food you've been eating all day.
Yeah.
So you get to the chocolate chip cookie and it's like, okay, I'm good with 1 or 2 or whatever.
Exactly.
Not 10.
Yeah. And it also, my taste buds got really reoriented to how sweet things taste. And so things taste way sweeter than they used to. So like a chocolate chip cookie almost tastes too sweet, and I'm almost like gagging on it.
My husband said that when he was doing something where he was not doing sugar for a month or something. I don't remember why. It's a long time ago, but he was doing no sugar. And then when he went to eat a yogurt that had sugar in it, I think fruit on the bottom, he said it tasted so overly sweet. And he used to eat them all the time. No big deal. He's like, this is so much sugar in here. But even fruit, like an apple, just tasted so delicious and sweet. It really did enhance his taste buds. Yeah. He thought it was just very interesting.
I did that when I was working on my thyroid stuff. I cut out all sugar for 2 months. And then when I would have something like just some plain heavy cream with no sugar added in it, it tasted seriously sweet. Yeah. So it's a great feeling. And even though I've added back in more foods now, I've still kind of carried with me that sweetness thing. So it's a great feeling.
Yeah, because you can taste foods better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the chicken artichoke. Was it chicken bacon artichoke?
Chicken artichoke bake.
Chicken artichoke bake. Yep. I'm adding in the bacon. You can tell I'm wishing for some bacon in there. Chicken artichoke bake. Yeah. And then you mentioned salads. Is this what you serve on the side?
It is what I serve on the side. But can I go back and just finish? I have a little bit more to say about the chicken artichoke bake. So one of the things, this comes to like my must-have kitchen item. This is an item that I got back when we were very first married. So I've had it for almost 30 years now, and I've probably used it more than any other item in my entire kitchen.
Before we move forward, a big thank you to the sponsors for supporting today's episode. Have you ever thought about how much science is involved in cooking? Chemistry, physics, and biology are at play all over your kitchen. On the cutting board, in the mixing bowl, on the stovetop, and in the oven. Inquisicook is on a mission to show students that science can be relevant, fascinating, and delicious, all while teaching an essential life skill. Inquisicook begins with the basics of food science and culinary arts, then adds skills and concepts in a carefully crafted sequence that leads to proficiency. Best of all, the principles can be applied to any cuisine, any available foods, and any dietary restrictions. So when it's time for people to come over for dinner, the options are endless. Visit inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Pure and Lovely Tallow began with one mom's desire to find non-toxic and effective skincare that was safe for her whole family. That's when she discovered tallow, simple, nourishing, and incredibly healing for your skin. Each product is handcrafted in small batches with just a handful of wholesome ingredients, using organic and grass-fed tallow sourced from small Minnesota farms. Nothing more, nothing toxic, just the way skincare should be. Whether it's everyday moisture, calming an eczema flare-up, treating your baby's diaper rash, or soothing hard-working hands, Pure and Lovely Tallow is made for the whole family. Check out their whipped tallow, deodorant, lip balms, and more at pureandlovelytallow.com. And because you're listening here, use code BESS for 10% off at checkout.
It is a rotary Parmesan cheese grater. So if you've ever been to like
an
Italian restaurant and they come to your table and they turn kind of a crank and then it puts Parmesan cheese onto your plate, we love that so much.
Okay, we all need this in our lives.
You really do.
Shredding Parmesan cheese is a chore.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's like if you're using one of the flat like hand graters, it takes forever. And I like to put lots and lots and lots of Parmesan cheese into my foods. And this meal has a lot in it. So it has like a cup mixed in it, and then you put another cup on top. And then what we do with the rotary grater is that when we're doing a buffet, you have it at the end of the buffet. Or if we're just sitting at the table, we pass it around the table. And after you've put your food on your plate, you can use the rotary grater and grind some more.
Just put some on top.
Yeah.
I can pass it around and top off their bowl.
But it's the difference between and it's a really fine grate too, but the difference between finely, freshly shredded Parmesan cheese and pre-shredded from the store is like, they're not even the same.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even the same ingredient.
Well, the pre-shredded is coated with something, and so it doesn't melt well either.
No.
Like if you've ever used it in a recipe, I've had it in soups before. Take just real quick, I need trying to do a shortcut, and so I get the pre-shredded, and it just kind of globs up in soups, and it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work very well for me. Having access to a shredder like you're talking about would make it so much easier to use the fresh.
Yep. It really makes a huge difference. And there's so many different soups that I make where my kids are like, oh, this is our favorite soup. They have these memories of it. One of them is called the sausage broccoli soup. But if I think about the soup without the shredded Parmesan cheese, like it wouldn't have
not
even
been
been
good.
No, it wouldn't even be worth eating.
It's like you got to have the Parmesan. That just makes it.
Yeah, it's really like shredded Parmesan cheese soup. I just have a bunch of versions of shredded Parmesan soup.
That should be the title.
Yeah.
And then underneath, you can have other ingredients.
Exactly. Kind of like, there's French onion soup and then there's shredded Parmesan cheese soup.
That's right.
So, yeah, I really recommend getting one of those. And I can send you the link to put up on the blog. There's one from Williams-Sonoma, and I've had it for 29 years and it has not broken.
So it's worth the extra cost.
It is worth the extra cost. Yeah. Put it on your Christmas wish list. So,
yes, sometimes buying quality kitchen items can really, really make a difference because you think, oh, it's more expensive than whatever the cheaper something is down at your local superstore.
Yep.
But it lasts.
It lasts longer and just even works better in the meantime.
And in the meantime, you're not frustrated because it actually does a great job.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of another tip just off the top of my head. You know how when you're grinding your Parmesan cheese wedge inside of this grinder, you're going to have like maybe a 1/2 inch at the very bottom, which is like the rind. And it just gets kind of hard and you just kind of stop unless you can get like a man to like really grind out that last. Well, don't throw that rind away. Save it and stick it in a soup.
Yes.
And then it kind of melts. Have you done that? And it adds so much flavor.
It adds flavor.
Yeah.
And then a great tip.
Yeah. So then you're wasting less stuff and And
then you can just dig it out at the end because I don't think it completely melts, does it?
No.
I mean, I just kind of, from what I remember in the past, just let it simmer.
Yeah.
And then pull it out.
You can pull it out, but also my kids think it's fun if you actually like it.
It's kind of like
to eat it, it ends up in your bowl.
So the New Orleans cake, what is it called is it a Mardi Gras where you cut slices and whoever finds the baby?
Yeah, exactly. It's like that. Whoever gets like the Parmesan rind in their soup has like an extra special little thing to eat there, chew on.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
A holiday tradition. Wait, no, every night. An every night tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
So you want to move on to salads?
Yes.
Should we talk about salads?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. Okay. So now move on to salads and tell us about your formula. And I love this because what a formula allows you to do, once you do this 3 or 4 times, it'd be like riding a bike. You could kind of picture in your mind what to do.
Yep.
And it wouldn't feel so overwhelming. Just like you need a full recipe in front of you.
Exactly. Well, and before I give you my universal salad recipe, can I tell you my salad repair manual?
Yes.
Okay. So these are the tips where you don't feel like you have to do it every single time. Like if it's just it's a weeknight and you had kids in sports and you come home, there's nothing wrong with getting a bag salad and dumping some, store-bought dressing on it. But these are just tips if you want to elevate it to the next level. So my number one tip is to never use iceberg lettuce for a salad. This is kind of controversial because some people, when I put this on my Substack, some people in the comments like, I love iceberg lettuce. But I had this little meme at the bottom where, the meme where like the guy is sitting at the table and he has like a white thing that says like, he has a statement that says, change my mind.
Yes.
I was like, I made up my own and it said like, iceberg is only for sandwiches, change my mind. But no, I really believe that iceberg lettuce is great for sandwiches, adding that crunch. I like to make a lettuce wrap burger, things like that. And the one place I would say maybe it's good is like a wedge salad. It's just a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, do not use iceberg for any other.
It's just very low in nutrition compared to the dark leafy greens.
It is. And I just feel like it's so low in flavor. It's just so watery. So step number one is ditch the iceberg lettuce. Any other kind but iceberg. My tip number two is that store-bought is out if you're trying to elevate it. And I'm going to help you with that in just a second.
Okay.
But
I just failed on step number 2.
I mean, if you're making it for company, but you don't, it's okay if you do it sometimes. Okay. This one also might be kind of controversial, but these are just my personal tips. I never, ever, ever serve my dressing on the side.
Oh.
I never
fail at step number 3. Okay.
And the reason why is because I feel like on your own individual plate, you can't adequately toss in such a way that you get it distributed throughout all the greens.
Okay.
And you're pouring it on, it kind of slides off and goes onto the plate and kind of pools. And maybe I'm just a control freak.
It doesn't coat your leaves.
No, I have to like perfectly coat the leaves myself.
And add the right amount.
And taste it. Yeah.
So you probably do it right before you're serving.
I do it right. I have everything prepped ahead of time. And then it'll be either right before guests walk in the door, or sometimes when it's more of like my family dinner with my married kids, it's a little more casual. I wait till after people are there. So just kind of play that by ear. But yeah, last minute, then I'm doing the toss and taste kind of method and getting it exactly right. And you just can't do that on your plate. So
that's a fair point.
It's a tip just for making it great. Now, if I come over to someone's house and they're serving on the side, I'm not judging them. It's just something to try.
Right. No, it makes sense.
It really makes it better, I think. Okay. Number 4 is to finely chop all the ingredients, including the lettuce. Otherwise, you have a great big piece of lettuce swath on the side of your mouth that has left like white ranch dressing smear.
That is the worst.
It really is the worst.
I have definitely come to those salads where you have just this massive piece of lettuce and you're trying to figure out how to fit it with the other ingredients in your mouth without it just being this horrible display of terrible manners.
Yes. And it's worse at restaurants when they do that, because here you are you're trying to be polite and strangers around you and you have this lettuce hanging out of
dressing everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't fit it all in one bite.
Yeah. And there's something when your eye looks at it that makes it more appetizing when it's smaller, because it makes it more readily available to eat, if that makes sense. Whereas it just feels like too mentally challenging. It's just more appetizing. Number 5 kind of goes along with what I already said about not serving the dressing on the side, but it's that you have to thoroughly coat your lettuce before you add any other toppings. Okay. And the reason is because the toppings are heavy.
Yeah, it'll make the toppings stick.
Yeah. And so you have no toppings, you're coating lettuce, getting the dressing exactly right. Then you put the toppings on. Then you can mix it a tiny bit, but not too much. And the reason why you don't mix it too much is because they'll fall to the bottom. But also as guests go and serve themselves, because we're usually doing buffet, then the toppings are naturally falling as you're serving it. And you can have it mixed a little so that it's not all just right on top, but don't mix it too much and they will naturally just fall as people serve.
That makes sense. And I think I've honestly done it backwards if I've done a pre-tossed salad. I think I have done the lettuce. I've done the dressing last. I've done the lettuce, the toppings, kind of tossed that and then done the dressing. But I realize what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. The dressing would coat the leaves better and help the toppings to stick all around the salad.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
And when I'm doing it, I'm doing a lot of stirring. So for my universal salad recipe, I'm starting with olive oil and then I'm doing some sort of a vinegar and I'm coating it with olive oil and then I'm adding some salt and pepper and then I'm kind of tasting it. And then is it just the right combination of lettuce to olive oil? It has to be exactly right. And so that's why I have to add it myself and I can't let other people add it.
No helpers in the kitchen on this one.
And then when that gets just right, then you move on to the vinegar and then you're adding just the right amount. So there's quite a bit of like tossing
so you don't
going
mix
on.
your olive oil and vinegar together.
No.
Oh, see, I always do that too. Wow, I feel like I'm a salad failure.
Well,
I need the, what is it called? The something manual?
The salad repair manual.
Repair manual.
Yeah.
I need to read this manual word for word.
Well, that was all that was in it. So you already have it down.
Okay, go back to step 2. I think it was 2 and 3 that I failed.
I'll just go through them really quick.
No store-bought.
You never use iceberg lettuce. Don't use store-bought dressing.
Okay, tell me. Oh, store-bought dressing.
No store-bought dressing.
I thought you meant you can't use store-bought lettuce.
No.
I was like, how, where, how? All
Oh,
winter
no.
long?
You have to grow in your backyard? Okay, I am not that far.
Okay.
Yes.
Store-bought dressing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was getting ahead of myself. So,
No.
Okay. No, I do actually not completely fail at that one. I do agree that a quick homemade vinaigrette or salad dressing is absolutely delicious.
It is just so much better than the store-bought. And I'll whip up my own like Caesar dressing.
And it can be so fast.
So fast.
So fast.
Yeah. So it just takes it to a whole new level.
It does.
And once you get used to that taste, it's so hard to go back.
It really is.
I don't have a single salad dressing in my refrigerator right now.
Wow.
I'm just done with them.
Yeah.
They're out of my life.
She's spoiled.
No, it did take a while. There was like a time where I was experimenting and we were still using store-bought, but then I just moved. I just went off the deep end.
Well, and if you have your own jars in there that you can quickly grab, would you need something else? I mean, you have it ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I also failed at step number 3. Which one was that one?
That was the dressing can never be on the side.
Okay, I did fail at that one, but I'm realizing potentially the error of my ways. So
I have one more for you.
Okay.
And that is never buy pre-cut lettuce.
Okay. Like
the
the
reason,
bagged
the
stuff
bagged
that has,
stuff.
or it probably has preservatives
Yeah.
on it.
Well, the bag stuff is okay if it's not cut, if it's just like a bag of like some kind of whole leaves. But the reason is every time you cut a lettuce leaf, you damage it a little bit. Have you ever opened one of those pre-cut salad mixes and you smell something a little bit off?
Yeah.
I have never not smelled something a little bit off.
Yeah. I always thought it was like maybe a preservative smell.
I don't think so. It's the rotting lettuce.
Okay, because the edges are, as soon as you do a cut, in fact, that's why they recommend you to tear lettuce. I feel like if you're serving it right away, it doesn't matter. But if you're prepping ahead of time, they recommend for you to tear because you're actually separating it better than the chop.
Okay.
Or it keeps it from browning as fast or something like that. But I think it has to do with what you're talking about, that as soon as you chop, it's starting to break down.
You're damaging it and it starts decomposing. And that's that smell that those lettuce bags have. And it's not a good smell.
Because it's been chopped in the store for multiple days.
Yeah. And it's going to have a bad smell. But I do salad prep like I do in the morning and I do use a knife. I do cut it all up. And I feel like that's not enough time.
No.
Just 6-8 hours is totally fine. And I don't smell any kind of like a rotting smell at all.
I would agree.
Yeah. So once you master those 6 steps, then right away you've elevated your salad game to a whole new level.
I feel like I have some work to do.
So now when you have my universal salad recipe, then it'll be easy and you won't want to go back to your old ways.
Now I will be working on getting all refrigerated or store-bought dressings out of my refrigerator.
Yep. So here's the template. You're going to pick any kind of lettuce that is not iceberg. So that could be romaine, that could be butter lettuce, baby greens. I like leaf lettuces. I would say those are my favorites.
The
red
green
leaf
leaf
lettuce.
and red leaf.
Yeah, those are great. So get those. And then you're going to have 3 different categories. So you're going to pick any type of fruit. You're going to pick any kind of cheese. And you're going to pick any kind of nut. And then you're going to do olive oil. And then you're going to get these white balsamic vinaigrettes that you can get them at Ampersand in town if you live locally. If you don't, I've seen them at health food stores before. So it's a white balsamic vinaigrette, not a dark, and they're flavored. And if you look at the ingredients, they're really low ingredients. They don't have a bunch of preservatives and junk in them. But they'll have like a peach, a strawberry. If you go to Ampersand, you can taste a bunch of theirs. Raspberry, I have one right now that's more of like a lime one. They have orange. They have like maybe 10 different flavors, and I've tried a bunch of them. And you don't have to be all matchy-matchy with it. So for instance, let's say all you have right now is like a peach and a strawberry white vinaigrette. You can put raspberries or blueberries on the salad. It's not like you have to do strawberries with the strawberry vinaigrette or whatever. So you get your lettuce, you coat it with olive oil, and you coat it with a white vinaigrette, one of the flavored vinaigrette. And then you pick any kind of fruit, any kind of nut, any kind of cheese. So that's the template. So I'll give you some examples of ones that I do really often. Probably the one that I do most often is I do bib lettuce, like that butter. I do butter lettuce, and then I do strawberries, goat cheese, and toasted almonds.
That sounds delicious.
It's really, really good. But I do get creative. I just kind of go through the farmer's market in the summer and I'm like, what berries look the most delicious? Ooh, look at those blackberries. Today I'm going to do blackberries, and then I have some feta cheese, and then I have some hazelnuts that I'm going to toast. So whatever I have on hand that looks good, that I think is going to go together, that's what I do.
And then you just pick whichever white balsamic looks good in your pantry. You just grab one.
Yeah, I usually have 2 or 3 different fruit ones. Like right now I have a peach one and a strawberry one. And then I have like one that's a little bit more tart than fruity, and it's more of like a lime. So I'll do that if I'm doing I'll do a tart kind of apple with blue cheese and then some kind of maybe pistachio nuts or something like that. And then I'll use more of the tart white balsamic. So just go and taste test them. Ampersand, they have lime, they have lemon, they have a mojito one. I think that's what I have right now is the mojito. There's no alcohol in it. It's just mojito flavored. Yeah. And that one goes really good with if you want to do in the winter, mandarin oranges are really good. I'll do mandarin oranges, almonds, and sesame seed. And then that makes a nice, almost like an Asian type of flavor. You could add some cilantro to that, mix that up, maybe some avocado. Some other combinations that I've done are, I have done one that's like peach balsamic vinegar topped with fresh peaches, or you could do pears, and then feta and hazelnut. Or I've done like strawberry white balsamic with blackberries that were on sale, and then I had some shredded Havarti, and then whatever nuts I found in my pantry. Blueberries with macadamia nuts and grated Dubliner cheese or brie would also be good with that one.
Sounds so good, but it's so simple.
Super simple. Yeah.
And mostly from what you have in your pantry, the vinegars, the oils, the nuts, all of that can be in your pantry. And of course, cheese in your refrigerator. So you just really need fresh lettuce.
Yeah. Since it's summer, I've been focusing more on the fresh ones. But then as it gets more towards winter, you could do things like dried cherries, dried cranberries, dried blueberries, go into more of the dried fruits if you want to, or canned fruits. So,
okay. I'm going to up my salad game.
Yeah.
So if you were going to serve the main dish, the salad, is that your complete meal? Do you do anything else?
So now it's time to talk about rice.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Your rice. You're known for your rice.
Well,
I have to jump into that.
Yeah. So I hope I didn't overplay it too much. The secret to my rice is that I add lots and lots of salt to it. And that's
this reminds me of the salt, fat, acid, heat cookbook, where if you just if you add enough salt, you're giving it flavor.
Yes.
And if you are really, really low on the salt, sometimes you're just giving yourself whatever it is, a dish that's just flavorless.
Yeah.
So I'm betting that's the
Well,
secret.
and there's actually nothing special about my rice. I mean, I do buy jasmine rice, so that's a little bit more flavorful than, Uncle Ben's or something. But the proportions that I use are 1 cup of rice to 1.5 cups of water, which is different than what the bag says. Most bags say 1 to 2, and I feel like that's too mushy. So I always do 1 to 1.5. And then I add a teaspoon of salt per cup. So if you're making 3 cups, which would be kind of a regular family, you're putting a whole tablespoon of salt in. And I think people usually do about 1/3 of that.
And clarify which salt you use, because it's not going to be iodized table salt.
No,
which would be super salty.
Exactly. Well, sometimes I use Redmond real salt, and I also have Celtic sea salt on hand. I kind of go back and forth between those two, but it will be more salty than you're used to, but when you eat it, you're not going to be like, well, it's too salty. It's just going to be like just
it's
right.
normally so bland that it makes it's similar to potatoes. You really do put a lot of salt on potatoes to add flavor.
Yeah.
That does remind me again of the Salt, Fat, Acid Heat Cookbook, where she has a chart in there of the different salts in the same measurement. Like, I don't remember what she used, if it was a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Let's just say a teaspoon. A teaspoon of the iodized table salt is going to be far saltier than a teaspoon of kosher salt. And you have to look at which kosher salt. Morton's kosher salt is saltier than the diamond crystal because of how compact it is, I guess. So anyway, that's something to know. That chart in there is really interesting. And sea salt, she talks about sea salt. And so you actually can use more sea salt and more of the diamond crystal kosher salt than you can of some of the other salts, which end up being far saltier.
I wonder if it's partly because kosher salt has such a big crystal that it doesn't take up as much space. There's a lot of air in the teaspoon, whereas when you have a really fine salt,
it's real dense and compact.
Dense. Although the Redmond real salt that I use is very fine and dense and compact, but it's not, like you said, it's not as salty as other kinds of salts, maybe because of the minerals that are in there. So. I'm not sure why, but I know it's not as salty. Yeah. But I will say I have done that proportions with all different kinds of salt. I keep a bunch of different kinds of salt in my pantry for different kinds of things. Yes, I have kosher salt and I have flaky sea salt and whatever. And sometimes I've been out of, the one that I normally use and have just used a different kind and it just works. Yeah. Any kind of salt works.
Good to know.
So it was just so funny though when people come over and they're like, this rice is so good, but they don't know that it's just salt.
It's just salt.
It's just salt. That's all it is.
Oh, that's pretty great.
Yeah. So that's my special little tip. And the same thing with your broth, salted to taste, but make sure it's good and salty. And salt is so incredibly good for you. So this was another one of those things that I was researching that just like blew me away. We actually need a lot more salt than we are getting. So people used to, in the old days before refrigeration, everything was salted. The meat was salted and it had to be salted. And people got a lot more salt than we do now. And there's very, very, very few people who will get high blood pressure from salt. It's like a very rare kidney disease. It's like less than 1% of the population, but everyone else really benefits from getting more salt. So I think that there's some vestiges of this old fake news science back in our minds that are like, oh, I don't want to add too much salt. It might raise my blood pressure or something.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what was going on in my day growing up. You often heard about too much salt and cutting back salt and using Mrs. Dash in place of salt.
Yes, I know.
Because we're all getting too much salt.
Right.
I definitely grew up in that era.
I did too. And I heard all of that too. There's a book called The Salt Fix where a really well-known doctor went and he has hundreds of medical studies documented and he just got together all the data about how good salt is for you. It reduces your insulin resistance. It's good for diabetics. It's actually good for heart patients. I mean, just like the opposite of everything that you've ever heard, that we all need more salt and benefit from it. It gives you headaches when you don't get enough salt, especially in the heat when you're sweating with colds and flus. That's part of the reason why broth is so helpful for you, because you're giving your body extra electrolytes that you need when you're fighting a virus, especially if you've been like throwing up or had diarrhea or just had a really bad cold and not really able to eat or drink much. All of those conditions.
Those immediate needs back to your body, which includes salt. If you ever have electrolytes, it definitely includes salt, along with other minerals. In the cookbook I was just talking about, the author says that she makes her things when, like you were saying, broth, or when she's cooking her vegetables, she makes it as salty as the sea. But I think that when she was talking about vegetables, you are pouring out the water. And so what she was saying is you want your water to be salty enough that it's infusing your vegetables. It's actually flavoring them all the way through. And a lot of the salt is being poured out. But with your broth, you're not pouring anything out. So about how salty would you flavor it?
I would still make it relatively salty. I don't know if I'd make it quite as salty as the sea. I'm thinking about last time I went swimming in the ocean, and you're like,
right. So you're making it salt to taste.
Salt to taste,
because you really are going to be actually eating this like a soup.
Yes. So pleasantly salty, but that's usually saltier than you originally think. So what I mean is if you taste it and it just doesn't taste very good, but you can't put your finger on why, that just means that it needs more salt.
Okay.
Until it gets to be just wonderfully flavored, and then you're like, that's
this is it.
Yeah.
This is the key.
Yeah. And I don't use any measurements. I'm just tasting everything.
Okay.
So,
well, that's a good way to cook. You're a true chef.
Well, it makes it hard to write recipes down for other people.
Right. Life goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any shortcuts or time savers that would go along with what you've talked about? Can you make your menu ahead of time or parts of it? I know with the broth, obviously, you can freeze broth.
Yep. You can freeze broth. You can freeze the chicken, and then you can pull that out. If you are going to do it all the day of, I would really encourage you to start it in the morning. And that's actually something that I like to do with other kinds of recipes too, is just start it in the morning. It doesn't mean that you're going to be cooking all day. And I think sometimes people hesitate to do that because they're like, oh, that means I'm going to be cooking all day, so I'm just going to save it all for the afternoon. What it means instead is that maybe in the afternoon you get to put your feet up for a minute because you did so much work ahead of time in the morning. So starting it in the morning is just a really good tip. And it's 10 minutes or 5 minutes out of your time, just pulling the chicken out, putting it in the pot, and just getting a boil going. And then just prepping, doing the whole getting the chicken deboned and the meat into the pot ahead of time. This recipe is great for, you can have it completely done like 2 hours before your guests get there. It could just be sitting in the oven warm. It has a layer of Parmesan cheese on the top. And then right before guests get there, you can brown that under the broiler. So the cheese gets really bubbly and that reheats the whole thing. It just gets it hot. But I love those recipes for guests where you can do so much of it ahead. So you can have the rice made ahead. You can have the chicken artichoke baked ahead. You can have the salad prepped ahead. And then it's just,
and you have time to clean your kitchen and prop your feet up.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And get your table set. Yeah. So.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect menu. I'm definitely going to have to try all of the things you mentioned.
Yeah, let me know how it works out.
I will. Do you have a favorite prep tip when you're planning for people coming over?
Favorite prep tip, this isn't going to be very creative, but I would just say planning where everybody's going to sit. And the reason is because that's not really prep, is it? But
yeah, I would
prep for
that.
How you sit down. The reason is because I think a lot of people do that when it's like Easter and Christmas and big occasions. But even for just a regular meal of having company over, we're usually doing a buffet. And so if you're having your guests go first, then they're going to go through the buffet and then they're just going to kind of stand there and be like,
They don't want to take somebody else's seat. I have thought that before. If you don't know where the lady of the house sits or the man of the house sits and you're just not real sure, and do they want to sit next to their kids, or it is a little confusing.
Yeah, they might feel confused. And then now that we have like married kids with babies, then I have a high chair situation where I need to make sure that couple is by the baby's high chair. And then I'll usually have like teens, early 20s, they all want to be near each other on one end of the table. So they have a fun little section of their age group there. And then I need to make sure that Chris and I are actually sitting by our guests. And it's not like they're at one end of the table with all the teenagers and we're at a different end of the table or something.
Right.
So even just a regular meal for company weeknight, I feel like it makes sense to do table. And it
lets guests know immediately where they're supposed to put their things.
Yeah. Makes them feel comfortable. Yeah.
That's a great tip.
So, yeah.
Do you have any other prep tips that you would share?
Yeah. So I have some cleaning tips, a couple of them. So my first one is the shop towel tip. So I have a bunch of places in my kitchen where I can hang kitchen towels. And most of them, 3 of my spots for hanging kitchen towels are for like a decorative looking towel that is for clean hands and drying clean dishes. But then I have one spot which is called my shop towel spot. And the reason why it has to be a shop towel is I want my kids to have a visual of like, this is the shop towel. This is what it's for. So anytime some little thing gets spilled on the floor, that's what the shop towel is for. And it's a special looking towel, like I said, so that nobody's taking the clean hands towel and using that for the floor. But if it's a really huge mess, like someone spilled a giant amount of tomato sauce, then I'm going to use the shop towel and I'm going to put it straight in the laundry. But most of the time, just a little spill on the floor, you can wipe that up with the shop towel. It's just a little bit of water and hang it back up without having to put it straight in the laundry. So you get a lot of use out of the shop towel, and then you don't have to use a lot of paper towels. Mm-hmm. I do still have paper towels and I use them, but it just cuts down on the use of the paper towels. And it's just a visual to my kids. Hey, don't use this on the counter because it's touched the floor. And you can be real goofy about like all the rules around and just teaching your kids those kinds of things, like something that touches the floor doesn't then you don't use it to dry your hands.
Right.
Or
dry the clean dishes.
Dry the clean dishes. Exactly. And I have about 20 of them always on hand. So then if somebody does a really big spill, then you just pull out all the towels. They're really convenient. I also use the shop towels for washing windows and washing mirrors, and just they have a lot of uses. And just I always have a lot of kitchen towels around. I change my dishcloth every single day, and anything that gets wet, I change every single day. Hang it on the side of the laundry basket so that it dries out, so it's not just like in a lump molding,
right,
in the laundry basket. Yeah. And then all of those always get washed with a little bit of bleach in there to freshen them up. So that's kind of my go-to way of handling my kitchen cloths. And then my favorite cloth that I've ever owned is, have you ever seen a Norwex Environ cloth? I think it's called Enviro cloth.
I think potentially I have, because I have a couple of Norwex cloths. I'm not sure if it's that one, but I think it is.
The Enviro cloth is like this super grippy material that just like scrub. It's not grippy in the sense of something that you would like scour a stainless steel pan with. It's not scratchy at all. The only way I can describe it is grippy. So if you're wiping down like a baseboard or like a spot on a wall, or even like the kitchen counter or the kitchen island, it just grips to everything in a special way. It's just the most amazing cloth I've ever had. I'm not even like a huge Norwex. I'm not into all the Norwex stuff. This is the only one I have.
But this is the best
This is just like the best one. Someone gave it to me years ago, and I just kept buying more so that I could have more and more of them. They're they're not a little pricey. They're pricey for a cloth. They're like $25. And you're like, for a cloth. Yeah. Like, who would pay that? I'm telling you, it's
life-changing.
Incredible. It is life-changing. The way that it cleans and scrubs and grips to things. And I'm not they call it a microfiber cloth. It's nothing like microfiber. I'm not a fan of microfiber.
Right.
It's totally different.
Okay. I'm going to have to look this up.
Yeah.
Do you have them separate from your kitchen towel laundering? I'm guessing you don't bleach it and put it in
I do all that because I'm lazy. It says on the website that you're not supposed to. It's like you have to use special detergent and do not bleach. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. It's just going in.
And it works fine.
Fine. Yeah, one of mine I've had for 15 years. I've been bleaching it for 15 years.
And it still works great.
Yeah. And washing it in hot water. I think the website probably tells you to use cold or something. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just doing what I'm doing.
So you don't baby them.
Don't baby it at all.
You just go for it, and they're fine.
And they're totally fine. And it works. Like, it's not shredding. It doesn't have a hole. It still has like this special grippy weave to it, even after all these years.
That is so fun.
Yeah. I'm so in love with this cloth. It's the best.
Back to your shop towels. Where do you buy those? Like Costco? Like a literal bag of shop towels?
Literal bag of shop towels like someone would use in their shop.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then where do you hang them? If it's up high, it's going to potentially be thought of as a hand towel. So do you keep it low?
So on either end of my island, I had my husband put just like a bar that you would hang a hand towel on. So one end of the island kind of closest to the sink has the decorative towel, and then the other end has the bar towel. And then I also have a couple other of the decorative towels because I just feel like you always need to have 2 or 3 out at any given time for drying. And I have a lot more of that on hand folded in a drawer so that you can just, if you have a big group, you're washing and drying so many dishes, you need so many drying towels. But sometimes when I come to people's kitchen, it's like they just don't have enough towels. You just need a lot of towels. Yes. And you could, in a pinch, you could use the shop towel for something else. But like if it was brand clean, take it straight from the, but that would just
Right.
like in my brain, I can't imagine doing that because I would violate my policy.
Right. It would just make your brain go,
Yeah, like, we messed everything
does
up.
not compute.
Yeah. Cannot dry dishes with shop towel, even if it's clean.
Right.
So-
No, I mean, I can see how you're viewing it as a cleaning towel or a cleaning rag. And we typically do wash cleaning rags by themselves because they've just done some, cleaned up a gross mess. So I like that idea of having one readily available in the kitchen. You don't want to have somebody grab your beautiful gift of a towel from who knows where and how expensive it is to wipe up something from the floor.
Yep.
But you want to have something lovely in your kitchen. So
Exactly.
that is a really fun idea. I have not thought about using shop towels before.
They're also good for when you have newborn babies over. Just throw them over the mom's shoulder or whoever's holding the baby. I did that recently when I had a newborn over, one of my newborn grandsons. My daughter-in-law was like, do you have any burp cloths lying around? And I was like, I have the shop towels. Got out the pile of shop towels.
It'll work.
It does.
That would be a mess.
Yeah, exactly.
Great tip. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Speaking of advice, what is your best advice for making people feel welcome when they come into your home?
Well, I can't think of anything off the top of my head because my tip about doing the name tags, that was my welcome thing.
That actually does make them feel welcome when they know that they have a place to go. It just immediately makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I'm fresh out of other ideas.
No, we jumped into it. We're mixing it all up today. I love that tip. I often forget that tip, but I do really like it. If I have a little bit of extra time, I try to make myself think of it, just write some name tags, or you can even print them if you can figure it out. I did it for a rehearsal dinner and had more time, but in a pinch, I went back to the exact same program. It's on Adobe. I think it's free. I mean, I know it's free.
I don't know if
I don't
I'm
pay for it
enough to figure that out.
Well,
but.
I don't know if I am either, but I did.
Wow.
It probably took more time than the younger generation, but
yeah. Another thing I've done is, a wet erase marker that's different than a dry erase?
Yeah.
Kind of stays on a little better. I've taken a wet erase marker and written people's names on their glasses.
Oh, that's fun. And then it just comes off when you wash it.
Yeah, it comes off when you wash it. So it double serves as a place tag. And throughout the night, they can go back and grab their glass if they want some water later and then set it down in some other part of the house and know exactly which glass is theirs.
Okay, that's a really fun idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I've done that with water glasses. I've done that with cocktail glasses. Like when I've had people over and you know how while you're doing last minute preps, you can hand them a cocktail, and I've written people's names on their cocktail glasses, or sometimes I've done with wine glasses. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great tip.
Yeah.
Oh, and back to if you're printing your own name tags, you can use fun paper. It doesn't have to be white.
Oh, that does sound fun.
You can make your own just handwritten, but you can, if you print, you can run all kinds of paper through your printer. If you ever go to a hobby store or Michael's or something like that, you can buy some sheets. I mean, they come in packages too, but you can buy colors. And I had some that were kind of like this shimmery gold and silver, and
that sounds super fun.
Anyway, so
my daughter Abby, along the name tags, she's this kind of person where, like, if you give her a job, I'm like, Abby, you're in charge of the name tags. I'm expecting her to get a 3x5 card, fold it in half, and write a name on it.
I have done that.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. She gets out her watercolor set and begins doing these watercolor backgrounds for each name tag, and then a calligraphy set. And doing, calligraphy on there.
I would give her the job every single time if she were my daughter.
But so we came up with this idea. I think it was her idea last time. We were like, why don't you do the watercolor blank? We'll laminate them, and then we'll do like the wet or dry erase marker, and you can reuse them. Yeah.
That's a genius idea.
Yeah.
Then it's a one-time, one and done.
Exactly.
And you can just, in a flash, be able to have name tags.
Yeah. So now you have 10 different ideas about how to
I love it.
Give people, let them know where they're supposed to sit.
The people in your home are going to be feeling very welcome.
They just know exactly where they're going to sit.
Yes, exactly. Especially if there's calligraphy and watercolor in the background.
Yeah.
Okay, we touched on your must-have kitchen item, or at least one of them. Do you have any more that you would say you have to have?
Oh, yes, I do have another must-have kitchen item. These Williams-Sonoma napkins that I got once again for my wedding 29 years ago. They're hotel napkins. So the normal ones are just like any cotton napkins where you get them out of the dryer and they're all kind of wrinkly and whatever and thin. These are like super, super thick. And so you get them out of the dryer and then all you have to do is kind of like smooth them with your hand and then they're just perfectly smooth. And I kid you not, they have lasted for 29 years. I bleach them. If they have like spaghetti sauce or curry or something on them, I'll just like take like all out bleach and just like pour it on there straight. I'm sure the label tells me that I can't do that.
Right,
I
for
wash them in
sure.
hot water. I dry them on a hot dryer and they have lasted 29 years.
And they're 100% cotton?
They are 100% cotton and just like a super, super thick, heavy, heavy weave. And the crazy thing is they're actually cheaper than the other more decorative, beautiful napkins or whatever. I get the plain white ones so that I can bleach them.
Sure.
And then I can have like 30 of them because I have smaller sets of real beautiful decorative ones, but you're not going to have 30 of like all kinds of different patterns. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes you just need some white ones.
Right.
And so I'm just impressed. Like every time someone asks me about napkins, I'm just like, these are the best. You cannot.
I wonder,
do
can you
better.
buy the same brand and quality at Williams-Sonoma? Do you think they still sell the same type of napkin?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah,
They
no,
are?
they're still there right now. And I can send you the link.
Okay, sometimes
because
when people say, oh, 29 years ago, you want to just say like an old person,
Right.
well, it's not made like they used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in my day.
No, I have more because there was a time when I only had like maybe 22 or something. And now sometimes we're having sit down dinners with 30 people or more. So I've, in the last couple of years,
You've
I've
ordered
bought
some
more.
extra.
Extra. And I've gotten them for all of my married kids.
Okay,
And they're
I'm
the
gonna
same.
Find the link to this.
Yeah. We'll put it on the podcast
Yes.
notes.
Yeah,
'cause-
for sure. We'll put it on the website under her blog post and then also on the shop page because that is a wonderful resource to have.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're incredible.
Yeah. And white goes with everything. I know you
Yeah.
sometimes do want color and decorative type things, but white goes with everything.
Yeah, and I find that if I do the napkins in white, then I can do a pattern on the tablecloth, whereas you wouldn't normally do two different patterns. So
Right. They would
Yeah.
clash for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great tip. Okay. Do you have a story for us from all of your days of hospitality and having people into your home or creating menus, taste testing as you go? Do you have a funny story?
So I do have a funny story. It's not actually about hosting people, but it is about cooking.
Okay.
And we were talking about it with the kids yesterday in preparation. And my husband thinks that this happened within the first week that we were married. I don't know if it was necessarily that quickly, but it happened pretty quickly after we were married. I decided that I was going to make a rotisserie chicken. And that just sounded like such a grand thing for a bride to do. And I really like rotisserie chicken. So I found a recipe off the internet and I was all into calculating like the minutes per pound, exactly how long it needed to cook. And I had extra time for preheating the oven and extra time for getting it out and letting it rest before you carve it and all that. So I get my rotisserie chicken out. I start making it. I cook it the allowed amount of time. I thankfully did have a meat thermometer. I had gotten one. So I stuck the meat thermometer in when I thought it would be done. And I look at the meat thermometer and it's like 50 degrees off or more. It's like 110 or something. It's supposed to be 165. I'm like, okay, babe, dinner's going to be a little later tonight.
Delay.
So yeah, it's like, let's just give it another half hour. And maybe at the end, it just, the temperature just shoots up really fast. I didn't know because I'd never cooked one before. So it gets to be like 6:30 at night and I'm testing this thing and it's still really cold, like way colder than it's supposed to be. My husband's getting really hungry. And so I'm like, let's just eat the chicken. I mean, let's just eat the potatoes and the carrots and then we'll have the chicken later. So finally, it's like 7:00 at night and I'm sticking the thermometer in and it's still like, now it's like 120 degrees. And my husband goes, you did defrost the chicken, didn't you?
Wow.
He's like, I don't really know anything about cooking, but I'm pretty sure that
It can't be frozen.
it can't be frozen. And I was like, well, the recipe didn't say. And I had literally just taken a frozen solid chicken out of the freezer and stuck it in the oven and thought that was going to make rotisserie chicken. And as soon as he said that, I was like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess there would be a really big difference between a fresh chicken and a frozen chicken.
I was trying to solve the mystery the whole time. I'm like, okay, she turned off the oven and forgot. But then I'm like, well, she would notice, though, that it wasn't hot when she kept checking it. What happened? That is really
that's
hilarious.
The funniest thing about this story is that I didn't think about that the first 5 times that I checked it. I wasn't like, well, it's not done because I used a frozen chicken.
Right.
I was
it's still frozen in the middle.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? I was so
can't figure this out.
It was like the ultimate mystery. So I can't remember for sure. I think what I did was I stuck it in water and turned it into soup. And that was my very first chicken soup. Because I didn't want to wait for like 4 more hours, stay up waiting for a frozen chicken to get done.
What time that night did you finally eat?
Well, we never had chicken that night, I think. I think we just had potatoes and carrots. It was a vegetarian meal.
It's so funny. Your poor husband. So but it is so funny that you finally figured it out. And that was your first, not bone broth, meat broth.
I know, exactly. That's my first meat broth. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
That's right.
Circling back to meat broth.
Yeah.
Which, as a quick side note, it just popped into my head that I meant to ask the question when you are doing that. You know how when you buy a whole chicken, you pull out some chickens have the organs.
Yes, the plastic bag.
Out?
I definitely pull that out because then you're going to have, otherwise you'll have plastic cooking.
Well, yes, but do you use it in your broth? Like you open it and put them in there or chunk them in the trash?
I use it, but I don't do it for company because I don't want company to be like, what's this chicken heart I'm chewing on?
Well, when you pour off your broth, I guess you're straining that off.
You're straining it, and then what I'll do is I'll chop it up and I'll just mix it in with my chicken artichoke bake, like I said, when I'm making it for my kids. And my kids are getting kind of used to it, but they will complain and be like, I just had a piece of the heart or whatever, or the liver.
They're watching for it.
Yeah, exactly. I try not to do weird things like that for company because I want them to trust that I didn't put like liver in their food or whatever. Oh, but I'm so glad you brought that up because one really important tip that I forgot to say is to save the skin after you're taking the chicken apart, you're pulling all that meat off. Save the skin, throw it in either the blender or the food processor with some of the broth and process it, and it will process really, really fine, no chunks. And when you pour it back in the broth, it looks like you just put heavy cream in.
Really?
Yes. And it adds tremendously to the collagen content of the broth and to the nutrient content.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
And back in my day, speaking of the health things that we always heard of, was that the skin was not healthy for you.
Right.
Because, like when you think of fried chicken or whatever, obviously fried is different, a little bit different, but the skin is not healthy for you because it's fatty.
I know. We were all told that. We weren't supposed to eat chicken skin. That's the most nutrient dense part of the entire chicken. So that collagen, it makes you have strong bones. It fights osteoporosis. It keeps your skin from wrinkling. And then even stranger than that, it actually has an amino acid called glycine, which makes your brain calmer. So this is actually like tested in people's brains. It keeps you from having excitability in your brain. It's like a calming neurotransmitter, not in the sense that it makes you sleepy like a sleep drug would, but it just puts you in a state of like calm awareness to have. And if you're missing that amino acid, your brain can get very excitable and not able to like come back down into a state of rest and calm. Isn't that so interesting?
That is very interesting.
And that's just in that chicken skin.
I know I've heard collagen mentioned when people talk about aches, joint aches and pains, things like that.
Right, because you need the raw material for your body to repair your joints. So like our joints, our ligaments, our muscles, our bones, none of that is stagnant. It's all constantly being remodeled, but only to the extent that you give it the nutrients that it needs to remodel it.
Interesting.
So that's all in eating the whole animal instead of just the parts. The other thing I do when I'm pulling it apart is I'm putting the bones in the trash, but there's some weird kind of like parts that people wouldn't eat that I then give to the dog, kind of like ligament tendony, kind of rubbery things. So give that to your dog or cat, and that will really improve their health.
Interesting.
You're still
So
getting
you were
little
really
bits
using
of it.
all of
I
the
really am
animal.
using the whole animal. Yeah. Yeah. And we're getting little bits of that into, it's dissolving into the actual broth. But what's left of it, you can still give to the
And
dog.
still pass
cats.
on
Yeah,
to the
pass it
family
on.
pets.
Yeah. And my vet is always like, your dog looks so healthy. And I was like, haha,
Well, I
he
have
gets
a
all kinds of
secret.
things.
He has a special diet.
And it's funny too that my dog and cat instinctively love the health food things that I do. Like if I'm eating liver, they're right next to me. Like, when do we get our scrap or whatever? Like humans have kind of lost that what's good for us, but the animals have not. They know. They go crazy for like liver. I eat oysters because they have B12 and zinc in them. I'll get the canned oysters. And then I make myself eat sardines every day because of the omega-3 fatty acids.
Look at you go.
So I make myself do all this stuff. And then I go back and I test. I actually got my omega-3s tested and they were like double what the average person's is.
Which is such great brain food.
Yes, exactly. So it actually does work. I was like, does this eating fish actually work? And we're going to do an experiment and then I'm going to test and have really high omega-3s. And the sardines are very small, so you don't have to worry about mercury like you do with the bigger fish. So, yeah.
Okay, this has all been so interesting. I've learned a lot and feel like I need to go read some on your Substack so I can continue learning some of the many, many things that you've talked about, or more about the many things you've talked about, as well as other great topics. So thank you for coming on today, and thank you for sharing so many amazing tips with us, and not just tips about health and food, but also tips about guests and welcoming them into our homes. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks for having me on.
Until next time, bye for now.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow the show and leave a review. It helps new people be able to find the podcast. And if you enjoyed this conversation especially, be sure to share it with a friend. Thank you for your time.